This is Dance Studio 411, where we answer your real-life questions about your toughest studio life predicaments. Parent problems, teacher turnover, student challenges, policy dilemmas, and so much more. Let's talk about what's keeping you awake at night and what you can do about it. Here are your hosts, Suzanne Blake Garrity and Jill Tyrone.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of our Dance Studio 411 podcast. I am really excited to introduce our special guest today, Sam Beckford, who is sort of a legend in the industry of dance, and he brings so much wisdom, insight, and innovation, and of course, entrepreneurial wisdom on that front too. And so we're just so glad to have you here today, Sam.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Suzanne. Awesome.
Well, you know, we've crossed paths you've been in the business consulting for almost 20 years. I've crossed my decade threshold, and we've seen so many, new things come and new things go. But one thing's for sure, really smart, great business advice holds truth through time. And I know you've had many successes and many failures that you've learned from, and you're very candid about that. So I'm excited because today you're really sharing a new innovation that I think will make a huge difference for our listeners who run dance or studios that maybe offer dance music, acting, all the things. And so I'm excited for you to kind of tell your story to our listeners here.
Great. Well, thanks, Suzanne. And I just want to say before I start, to all of your listeners, when they are legally and medically allowed, you guys have to give Suzanne a big hug, because she deserves it. I know she loves you guys. Like, just in the conversations that we've had, I can just see, the empathy and the feeling in there. So she's really doing her best for you guys. So yeah, give her a big hug when we're all allowed to do so.
Listen, I'm a hugger. It's just been hard, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll jump into a couple things. So we're going to talk about, how to add monthly recurring profit to your studio without expense, risk, or staff. And I know it sounds too good to be true and a bit out there, but just follow me a bit on it. Now, with my background, we started our studio back in 1995, and we're a bit unique because we're a dance and music teaching studio. So we do both dance and we do music. And over the years, I've helped hundreds of dance studios add music as an additional profit stream. It makes a lot of sense. The minivan's there anyways.
Exactly.
If people are there, and if you can increase the amount that people are spending with your business, you have trust and credibility with them, and why not? So in many business industries, you see the cross-selling of services, where a company sells one thing, but then they will add another product line that syncs in nicely with what they're doing. So music and dance, they really go together like, well, music and dance.
Exactly.
So from a student point of view, it's great because if you have your dance students that want to be the typical triple threat, well, if they can sing and dance, well, hey, you're almost there, right? You just have to act. And so for voice, for any kind of musical training, it really helps in the classroom and with choreography and many things. So with our studio, we've survived, especially during this current time, because there's been a surge in interest in online music lessons. It's a safe social distancing activity, and yes, you can take your dance classes online. Many of us do that and it works, but, there's a bit of a diminished result of the experience. Because it's, if a student is in their townhouse kitchen and they have to pretend it's a big dance floor, pretend there's mirrors, pretend there's bars, pretend there's other kids around. Some people are okay with it and they will make do with what is the new situation. But other students, and especially new ones, they might want to wait it out. And my fear is that this wait it out is what is going to be the undoing of a lot of studios. And Suzanne and myself were talking a bit about, the state of the industry, and that could be a whole other call altogether.
Yes, it could.
But for right now, the first step to success is survival. So with online music lessons, they offer a huge opportunity to cross-sell another product to your student base. But here's the problem. A lot of dance studios, they got their hands full with everything. They basically have their programs they're running. They're trying to do the technology. Their staff is adjusting to new things every single day, and between all the cleaning and the news, it's all over the place. So we've been very stable in our personal studio business because our music lessons, they just work. The students, they connect with the teachers, it's off site, we don't have to do anything, there's no editing, there's no tech, it's all done. It's like a beautiful thing. The reason that dance studios don't just run out and add music is because they have to hire staff, they have to deal with all the technology, then there's the billing. Music lesson billing is ugly. It's billed on a per lesson basis for private lessons. So some months there's 5 lessons, some months there's 3 lessons. Oh no, what if I want to change days from this day to this day? Oh no, what if I missed the lesson? I have to do a makeup lesson. I've helped hundreds of dance studios add music, but hundreds more say it's a great idea, but I don't want to deal with all that hassle. So we came up with a solution. About 2 years ago, we started building and testing a platform that does online registration for private music lessons and really automates the entire process. Everything from the registration, the billing, the makeup lessons, the setting up of the video room. We don't use Zoom, we don't use Skype. It's all hosted in there. The exchanging of files, the text notifications that your lesson's been rescheduled, or you can send a message to your teacher, all that stuff. So instead of keeping it to ourselves, what we decided to do was actually package it up and let dance studios participate in the profit. So we came up with something we call OnlineMusicLessons.today. So it's not .com, it's .today. I know it's the new world of the internet, right?
It is. People are ready for new URLs. I like it.
Yeah, why not? So, but what we have in place for dance studios, we basically allow dance studios to partner with us to be online lesson affiliates. So they basically go onto our website through a unique link that Suzanne will share with you, and they set up their account. There's no cost, it's free. You just type in your studio name, your website, phone number, and that's it. It generates a unique URL link for you. You post that up on your website or your social media. You email it out to your student base, current and past students. And anyone that's interested in music lessons, when they click on that, they register for lessons. Your studio gets paid a 15% commission of those lesson fees month after month, really potentially year after year, as long as those students are in lessons. So it's like you're getting the profit of music lessons without the downside of the administration, the hassle. And the great thing is, like, we through our system do all the registration, all the billing, all the collection, all the rescheduling, everything. You don't have to do any of it. Like, we take care of it all.
Well, and Sam, that's why I was so excited to have you on our podcast, because my daughter is a prime example. She takes private voice lessons for a year before you and I talked. And even though, so COVID hit, and it was like, I'm texting her, we're trying to set up Zoom links, we can't get in. Then it's like, my daughter shouldn't have her phone number. I'm Venmoing her money. So she's a couple towns over. She could be anywhere, and it's a hassle. And so with you and I talked, she's the kid, she's in acting, she's in dance. Honestly, I just want her to have a great experience, in the hassle of the mom over here having to manage all the Zooming and the kids' lives. That you're offering the service for studio owners to basically add a program, like you said, that they can not only supplement their dancers' goals and dreams, but they can earn a little bit of extra income at a time when we all know any bit of extra money, whether you sell dancewear, you can do a virtual shop, and then you can add music lessons. I think it's brilliant. So thanks for even that generous opportunity for our listeners.
Oh yeah, and I think it's one of those things that you really have to be open-minded to taking any opportunity you can to survive now. I mean, I know that a lot of studios are doing things like the study bubble thing we'll do during the day. The Zoom innovation was great, that a lot of studios jumped on board and said, we can do this, I'm going to make it work. And there's been some really interesting ways. I've seen people use camera techniques and different ways of editing. But this is, I don't like to use, the cliche phrase like the no-brainers, but, I don't know what else you would call it, because if there's no risk, no cost to set up, and you're basically just passing through, like, this is very common outside the studio industry. But typically, we haven't seen a lot of affiliate marketing within the studio industry, because, typically the idea of one studio that's in dance selling another studio that's in dance is, offerings. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But if it's something that you can't sell or won't sell,
why not?
It just makes a lot of sense. To speak a bit about the logistical side, a couple interesting things inside the system. All the communication between our teachers and students are handled through the system. So there's no individual text numbers. There's no individual email. You don't have to worry about payments crossing back and forth. But the parents like this as well, because if they wanted to switch teachers, for example, it's an easy transition. They can switch from one teacher to another teacher, whereas the obligation factor. I have a personal trainer I've had for 12 years. She's great. We love her. But there's sometimes it's like, should we do this and do that? But, Kate, she's become a part of her life. And, there's when all this stuff started, like, she's like, well, do you guys want to do the video? And we kind of wanted to change, but we ended up still having our trainer. And it happens like that with music teachers, because you're dealing with them on two levels, on the educational level and on the business level. Well, with a platform like this, we had a student yesterday. They started with one teacher that was a great jazz voice teacher, but they said, I want to actually switch to someone that's more of a musical theater vibe. So they quickly hit the button themselves. And here's the beautiful thing. They don't call us. They look through all these teachers' profiles. They find who lines up with them. They see all their schedules. They click on the time. System does everything. They connect. And it's not awkward. It's not weird.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that way.
I like that you created that, knowing what the pain points are for students and the parents. And I also love that you said the rescheduling and the rebooking. If a kid isn't feeling well or they have a trip out, they just can't go. The rebooking process. Want to talk about that? Like makeup lessons.
Sure.
Lessons.
And, in music, private music lessons, makeup lessons are the ugly beast. Dance studios, you guys consider yourself lucky because you never had to deal with this problem. Because if a student misses class, it's a group activity. However, if someone misses a private music lesson, it turns into hostage negotiation central. It's like, well, I missed this lesson. What are you going to do for me? Or my favorite, we're going to go camping and we can't be there for the lesson. We want to reschedule it. Then you have to say everyone's favorite word. I'm sorry, our policy is this. Oh, wow, policy, that's nice. I love that word. That makes me feel so valued as a customer. Thank you. When you put it that way.
Exactly.
So with our system, we solve that problem with technology. So this is pretty slick, actually. We allow students to reschedule their lessons through our platform by going, and they log in themselves. They don't phone us. They don't email us. There's no dog ate my homework story. They don't have to be sick. We don't care why they're not coming. And our teachers are totally cool with this. Our teachers are not outsourced and contracted. They're actually teachers that work for us. So this isn't a referral system of teachers. This is actually our teachers that we manage and vet, and they're all university trained and background checked. But anyways, what happens is the student or the family, they go into their account. We need at least 4 hours of advance notice, which is very reasonable. They click a button that says, I'm not coming. So I'm not coming. Just choose the week you're not coming. You just push a button. You can schedule, 4 weeks in advance you're not coming, or in 6 hours in advance you're not coming. They hit, I'm not coming. The system calculates that they've done it with enough advance notice. It automatically generates a makeup lesson credit. It'll automatically turn around and say, okay, do you want to reschedule it now? Here's other spaces on your teacher's schedule. It automatically notifies the teacher. But the cool thing is this for the teacher, and this is why our teachers like it. It will remove that student from the teacher's schedule. It'll automatically find all the other students that are owed makeup lessons and shoot them a text message saying, guess what? We just had a last minute cancellation. Do you want it? So we're effectively using technology to recycle unsellable, unusable spots in the teacher's schedule to put owing makeup lessons there, which was impossible before. Because, you could try and do it with the phone and back and forth. Can you come at this time and that time? Online, it works very well. But the beautiful thing is it's not awkward because you're not negotiating with the teacher saying, well, it's not really our policy. We don't, and 4 hours is reasonable. Yeah, it's cool.
I love that. That's just such a game changer for parents and students alike, especially knowing we're going into an even more uncertain fall and winter when, you never know. And you've definitely taken that piece of the process and sounds like made it so awesome, which again, another feature that it's worth looking at. I know we're going to have links in the show notes here from our podcast. And, what's the best, if, obviously you have so much wisdom and insight. Today we're focusing on this awesome innovation. If someone wants to kind of sample it or demo it or see what it looks like, obviously we're going to have the link. They would go to the website, and what would they do?
Yeah, so they can go to, you're going to have the link there, but that the link you'll give them is where they set up as an affiliate. But they can also go to OnlineMusicLessons.today. They can scroll through all the different teachers. They can search for different things. They'll see all of the different lesson times shown in their own device's local time zone. So it'll scale for all the time zones.
That's very cool.
With our fees and stuff are very simple and easy to understand. We have a really low price structure. We're $29 a lesson. And that is, pretty low for the industry, because lesson rates now are much higher than that in commercial type studios. But because of our low overhead of doing the automation, we can do that. And we don't have registration fees. We don't have onerous policies like, oh, you have to give us like 30 days notice to cancel. Or hey, if someone cancels right before the next billing cycle, they self-cancel. No dog ate my homework story. It's clean. It's easy. We want to basically eliminate all of the things that used to cause customer service concerns. Because as studio owners, we've seen it. The bad Google reviews, which we all love getting, it's usually based on some policy. The studio didn't refund this. I told them I wanted to quit. They still charged me for that. We've all seen it.
All seen it. Oh, yeah.
And we said, why not? If we're automating it, and people are in control, they can schedule their makeup lessons. They can, quit right before the next billing cycle. We even let them permanently move their lesson times without having to talk to us. They basically do a permanent reschedule, and it works.
So, it's amazing. I'm sure you've told me before, what are the top 4 types of music lessons people look for? And then what are some of the outlier things you teach?
Sure. Okay. So the top 4, with most dance studios, obviously, this will sound like I'm stereotyping, but it's true. It's mainly females, obviously, in dance studios. So we're finding it piano and voice. Piano is usually number 1 and voice is number 2. Although we're finding in the dance market, a lot of times voice is start turning to number 1. The beautiful thing with voice is a lot of the dancers, they want to be performers. And they're taking some musical theater. They want to do stage. They've always had that desire that, hey, I should do voice. So voice seems to be edging forward now. The beautiful thing with voice as well is you don't need an instrument, because you are your instrument. We have all the backing tracks built into our system. So the teacher sends the students the recording on their end to actually play. So you don't have that lag time of the music playing on one end and you can't do it on the other end. So the teacher hears it back that way. Cool. And so voice and piano are our 2 biggies. Next one is guitar, is the 3rd one. And then violin is number 4. No, I'm actually a violinist. A lot of people don't know this. I do have a musical background.
That's cool.
But violin is actually the hardest instrument to learn. It's difficult. Like, we do it and we can teach it. It's difficult to learn online if you're an absolute beginner, because you get so many moving parts. You have the bow hold, you have the chin rest and the shoulder rest, you have your fingering, you have the intonation, and there's that screechy cat sound. It's complicated. So those are the top 4, piano, voice, guitar, and violin. But then some of the other ones are the shippable instruments, like a flute. It's a small instrument you can get out there. Drums, we do have that. And it's funny because in the age of Amazon everything, the largest purchase I almost made on Amazon, but I ended up getting it through a different connection, was an 80 kilowatt 2-ton generator for my house. So
exactly.
It's the age of shippable everything. But the smaller instruments, like if you have a flute, that works well. Ukulele is another one that's starting to come up. Cool. It's like that. But we do pretty much everything, the clarinet, the woodwinds, the trumpet. So it's...
That's awesome. Well, and I know some of the listeners that you talked about that dance bubble space for academics. Yeah. Again, good time to talk and present this to your dance families, because kids are losing out on that extracurricular space. Some schools are cutting it all together. Not everybody has their bandwidth of their school district to even keep running their academics with the enrichment. They can't, they're just having to prioritize learning only. So if there was a good time to position this for dance studio owners and their customers, it's like, listen, kids need this more than ever. Their brain development, their social emotional development, music and dance and art. Here's another way to supplement that learning. And it's awesome. I'm excited about it for you.
Oh yeah, it's great. And, I think we're going to see a renaissance in music lessons because, it's just like, you notice how we saw the big renaissance in baking. Everyone's baking, right? It's like, exactly. Does anyone have some yeast, right? So it's like, I remember
sold
at the
out
store,
of flour. You couldn't get flour at the store.
Our stores here, they had like the big, like commercial industrial bags of flour that had like
Yes.
none of the
So,
color
like,
stuff on there. Yeah. So, and the thing is, I know we're not supposed to hoard things and lust after goods, but I was coveting flour and yeast.
yes,
And I was like, it was like we're living in the Old Testament. We just need some
exactly.
yeast and a bit of flour to make some cakes so we can live.
Exactly. I know. I told my mom, like, bring me the sewing machine. I feel like I need to have that in case we're like, can never shop for clothes again.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
That's
funny.
good.
But I think, we're going to definitely see a renaissance in music lessons, which is great because, if kids can do something that is more artistic in nature, like I'm not trying to bash the sports people, but the truth is I'm looking to get even with the sports people after all the years of pushing us to the back burner, right?
Yeah.
So if music can actually make a renaissance, that would be terrific. And it'll benefit, everyone, because I mean, the world needs more music.
Yes, it does.
The other interesting push we're looking at, and this is a secondary market, is actually grandparents and gift certificates and birthday gifts. Our system is getting set up very quickly and shortly we'll have this available to actually do gift certificate purchases. So people can buy or refer students to actually send a gift of music anywhere. And if you think of it, if you have a reach of 500 students at your studio, current and past, well, you couldn't get referrals to your studio easily before if you're bricks and mortar in person. But now, how many people have reach in your studio outside your area? Because if they have a great music teacher, they can refer them to your studio, and then your studio gets a commission. So it really does have an interesting possibility for reach and growing a program for a studio. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Well, I'm so glad that you were here today, Sam, and I'd love to have you on a future episode. You have so many great words of wisdom and experience with all the aspects of the dance studio and music school space, not to mention all your other entrepreneurial endeavors. So we are so grateful for your time. Check out the show notes for the links, but give them the link one more time.
Yeah, so it's OnlineMusicLessons.today and /DSO, like dance studio owner. So OnlineMusicLessons.today /DSO. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun, Suzanne. I'd love to come back in the future and chat.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Dance Studio 411. Visit us online at dancestudio411.com for more great resources and to submit a question for a future episode. Our number one goal is to help you build a successful dance studio business and keep your passion for dance alive.